Good morning. I thought I would come on and let you see what my office looks like today. With sheltering in place, all agents have kind of gone home and learned to work digitally rather than go into their brick and mortar buildings. And for some of us, it's been real eye-opening how much we can work from home. We don't really need to go into the office. And it's been great. This is my office today. I have a chair sitting out on my deck. I have my laptop. And I am doing training for continuing education. There are realtors who go and they do a very basic 1-week course. And it's more about fair housing, HUD, etc., etc. But there's a lot more to it that dedicated agents who really want to make it a career, will go and get what they call designations, further training that teaches us to be better in specific areas or niches, how to bring better service, how to protect our clients. And it's worth looking at the alphabet soup that follows behind someone's name, because that is what shows you an agent is willing to invest in their time and learn further and take it further. Not just a 1-week course and every year sit in a classroom for what they call continuing education. Pretty much they shut off their brains, they sit there and laugh and joke or whatever. Not a lot goes into that, and that doesn't mean they aren't good agents. There's a lot of agents I know who are only just realtors. They've just done the basic course. But today I get to sit and I get to do my continuing education, which is usually something that gives me, there goes a butterfly, gives me further designations, further training to retain those designations. So not only do I have to do all the hours to keep my associate broker upgraded, but I have to also go in for several of my different designations and do continuing education to retain them. So that's what I'll be doing today. But I thought I'd walk you through my garden. I usually go on my personal page and do this. And I thought I'd go on through here and show you, along with my videos that tie in gardening to home ownership and how it's therapeutic, how it improves my enjoyment and quality of my life for me. Everybody's different. But for those that are gardeners or in touch with nature, spiritual, I'm sure that this will resonate with you. And this is what I do in my spare time. I come out and I garden. I don't have a gardener. I have a husband who will mow the lawn and who right now is actually busy redoing our deck with Trex decking, so even that comes down to me. This is my koi pond. I find sitting, watching the koi fish mesmerizing and very therapeutic. There's just something about water, how it calms me, grounds me. And I love it. I've been talking to AVM Aquatics about doing some work on my pond. I did not put this pond in. I do not like the way it was constructed. The sides are very, very steep. It's very unnatural. It's very hard to maintain. Some of the way the water flows restricts the water, so I don't get the water flowing fast enough to keep the algae out. And so these are some of the issues that we talked about. But with everything going on with people's jobs and the sheltering in place, and yes, we're at phase 4 and people are now opening up certain businesses. We'll see how that goes. But I am not one that's going to sit here and blow smoke and say that the economy is going to stay great house prices are going to stay high. I'm a realist, and so I'm not going to tell you what a lot of people are going to tell you when it comes to that. I think we are going to see a big shift in the market, and I think prices are definitely going to adjust. I think we're going to go from a seller's market to a buyer's market again, and everything that that means. So if you're someone who, I mean, let's face it, 1 in 4 Americans has now lost their job. And most of us are looking at the end of our noses. We aren't looking past that. So for every store that has to close its door because of sheltering in place and the time that they've been out without any money coming in, think of the suppliers for whatever goods they sell. Think of the person who transports those supplies, the people who provide the materials to make the goods that are transported and sold at that store. It's a domino effect. It's going to go on and on and on. And we are going to see people losing their jobs every week. And people who have worked for a lot of years and thought they were pretty safe and cushioned in their job are going to find out they're not. And some of you may well have bought up the chain value-wise with your housing, and it's taken two paychecks to pay the mortgage and everything that you've got going on. Well, if you went through that last time, you might be saying to yourself now, I don't know that I can sustain such a high mortgage. I don't know that I want the stress of sustaining such a high mortgage. And you might want to have that discussion and sit down and think about what that looks like for you and get out from underneath that high mortgage while you can before we start seeing all the prices really adjust. You might be sitting in a really great place. You might want to be holding on to your money because I predict that there's going to be some good values for homes in the future that people are going to be able to get if you're in the right place at the right time and you have the money. We'll see if I'm right. I'm not an economist, but I have been licensed in 2 countries. I have bought and sold in 4. This is not my first rodeo. I have seen this happen a few times. And I believe in preparing people for what's to come. So this is the bed I was working on the weekend. A lot of you remember there was a lot of flowering material in this bed, and I've taken the majority of it out. I literally dug like 10 inches down, getting some of the root systems out. Anything with rhizomes for roots are very aggressive and really hard to eradicate if they get into your bed. So I did a lot of work, and I've put in 4 different varieties of lavender in this bed. Lavender's got a lot of healing problems, or properties, not problems. You can drink it in your tea. You can harvest it and use it for flavorings, for medicine. You can make homeopathic like creams and all kinds of things. But even just the smelling of lavender is very calming and soothing. Helps people sleep, helps with insomnia. Worth a Google, look it up, see what you can find. Michigan is blessed to have several different lavender fields and farms. We have Lavender Lane, we have Lavender Hill. There's even a small lavender place over in Saugatuck. And it's a really cool little place. A lot of these places will do educational workshops and seminars, and hopefully with us going to phase 4, they'll be able to start doing more of that again. Here is a older, mature lavender that I have. Lavender does not need to be watered and babied. It does till it gets hardy, till it gets really grounded in, like that one. But then you can pretty much leave it alone. They do not want their feet wet. In other words, their roots. So they like a sandier soil, a soil that drains. Water it well, but don't let it get soggy. We have a couple apple trees actually really doing well, and we have a few that have struggled. This one's doing pretty darn good. I have a peach tree that from a distance looks like it's doing wonderfully. But when you get up close, it's struggling. And I'm ready to just chop it down. So this is my peach tree. Doesn't look like it's doing too bad. It's got some dead branches in it I need to prune out. But its issues are throughout the whole tree. And I believe it's a disease called glombosis. I'm not sure. So if anybody out there is seeing this, if you can talk to me and let me know. Fruit trees are not something that you learned a lot about when you did your horticulture in Alberta, Canada. So you can see there's a lot of issues. Ah, that's new. I recognize that and I can't remember the name. I'm gonna have to Google that or go into my books and look. In previous years, it had this gooby, thick jelly stuff it was oozing, and I'm not seeing that at the moment, but I'm seeing the wounds everywhere. So it's got some issues going on. So if anybody out there knows what I'm looking at, if you know it can be treated or how to treat it. Now this is something I'm sad I missed. When you're looking at your trees, this is something that should have been pruned out. So you see how here it's actually grown in together. It's rubbed and it's actually grown in together. So you might think that's cool. In a way it is. But what should have happened is one of these limbs should have been sacrificed. It should have been cut off, pruned off, so that didn't happen. Ooh, I just saw a bug. Where'd you go? You're hiding. I just saw you. Where did you go? Little booger. It's some kind of a beetle-y looking thing right there. Nope. Huh. Okay, it's gone. It was up there. So, one of the things I discovered this week, funny enough, people always say poison ivy has 3 leaves. Well, do you know how many plants have 3 leaves? I apparently have been pulling poison ivy with my bare hands with absolutely no reaction since I moved here. But like a lot of my Michigan-born friends, they said, yeah, we used to for quite a while too. And then all of a sudden one day, you'll react. So now that I 100% know what it is I'm looking at, what I'm pulling, I'm going to be a whole lot more careful. I also think that's what's bothered our dog's belly. She goes running off after the rabbits, and I think that's what's getting her. This tree used to have a tag, and I'm going to have to look it up and figure out the name of this one again. I bought this literally as a 3-foot whip at Lowe's, just because I thought it was cool, the shape of it. It's, the texture of the branches and stuff. It is fairly slow growing, but all of a sudden it's growing like crazy. Don't forget the age-old saying, first year they sleep, second year they creep, third year they leap. Well, this one took a lot more than 3 years to leap. This is an ornamental cranberry, absolutely beautiful in the fall. And behind it is a burning bush. That is blood something or other maple. It was a twig I got from Lowe's too. I'm like my friend Jamie Allen in Alberta. We'll see these things in different box stores or whatever and grab them. My red dawn is like 3 times the size it was when I planted it. Hasn't quite filled out the way I would like it. Not like a lot of red dawns. This one, for whatever reason, is straggly. Could be because it's on a sand hill and maybe I'm just not watering it enough. Not sure. I need to move some other shrubs and put some other trees in here. The spruce that were between the two properties have come down, and the neighbors do not like the alders. So they keep chopping the alders down on their side of the line, which has really opened up our two properties, so I gotta do something about that. This was probably 5 feet tall when we put it in. You can see it's just going like crazy too. And it's a nice wide gold thread. Just amazing. Got some roses underneath it, which need to be moved because they no longer show up. They're kind of like, shadowed by the width and the breadth of this tree. There's the iris. One of my irises blooming. I don't just have the traditional purple or blues. I've got a few kind of neat ones. My smoke bush was another one that was really, really small. Suffered for years. I actually cut it back because the top died off one winter. And look at it. It's going like crazy. So it makes a nice sort of visual stop to hide the propane tank in behind it. I can't wait to show it when it starts doing its smoky. When it starts blooming, there's not really blooms, but it puts out these white thready fibers, which give it the look of smoke in the bush. So that's why they call it a smoke bush. Again, another lavender bed. I pulled out the daylilies that were here and the hostas that were here. I see I got a couple hostas coming up from roots that were obviously missed or left behind. So we'll do that. This is another red dawn. See how thick it is and how wide it is versus the one up on the hill. It's doing really, really good, and because it's down here, it gets watered by the sprinklers. So that's why I think the other one's issue is not enough water. And all the trees that we planted 2-3 years ago are just really, really growing. So got my work cut out for me, but that's enough of a break. I better get inside and get back to my work. Hope you enjoyed the walk. Hope you found it calming and therapeutic. And have a blessed day.